got T-Mazz in the building.
To my father, TaraMazz singer.
Episode number 4.
Rest in peace, Dad. It was a
Be on
legendary
Lookout
run.
TV.
Love your life. Last night I had a talk with God. He told me don't believe the facade. The homie told me keep my hand on the chopper. Mama told me I should become a doctor. The world got me anxious, cause I live where it's dangerous. Young kids with the stainless, shooting at their own blood type, it is painless. And got my grandmama crying about it, cause she know her little line about it. Daddy tryna pull me about it. Now that boy focus tryna move me a mount, and a young light watching me. And them greenbacks stalking me. And the rappers don't make sense to me. The motherfucker man is who I'm fist to be. I know a chick with a good job, and 10 more who ain't never had one. 10 kids with some sad faces, and shorty still wanna add one.
All right. We got T-Mazz in the building. How you doing, brother?
Yes, sir. Let's get it. I'm
Let's
pretty
get
good,
it.
bro. How you?
I'm blessed. Can't complain. So can you tell the crowd about yourself and your background?
Definitely. My name T-Mazz. I also go by Dr. TaraMazz Harris. A little bit about me is I got a long history of doing hip hop music as an artist and producer. Got some videos and stuff out there on YouTube. Go look up T-Mazz. But currently, I've transitioned my life into being a clinical psychologist. I completed my doctorate degree in clinical psychology from Capella University in 2018. And since then, I've just been kind of working in the field, and trying to be effective in the lives of others. But yeah, I'm also a father. Bay Area native, Niners fan, Warriors fan, stuff like that.
Okay. So like what inspired you to pursue a career in psychology, and like how did you transition from rapping to being a doctor?
Something that inspired me to pursue a career in psychology was just going to school and learning more and more about the subject. The higher that I went in school and the closer that I got towards graduation, I began to learn a lot about just development, about the brain and how it works, about just substance use and addiction and medicine, things like that. And a lot of those topics had interested me way before, and I never really knew that I was so interested in the topics and how much of a relationship they had with psychology. And so, the more that I studied the topic, my interest grew. I also seen um, career paths like actual jobs that I could see myself working in if I got specific degrees that had to do with psychology. And so I started to see this when I was getting a bachelor's degree. And so I was able to work with some different mentors and come up with a specific plan on how to get towards my ultimate goal. But becoming a doctor wasn't the initial goal, I don't think. For me, the initial goal was just to complete school, just to complete my bachelor's degree, because, I always felt like, I probably wasn't going to complete it. I was just in school to get the money, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it was getting grant money and little loan money, stuff like that. And felt like we was rich. So, it came a point where I felt like I wanted to complete the degree. So that was my interest at first. But then the more that I learned about it, I was interested in going a little bit further.
Yeah, that's deep.
Hmm.
So like, can you tell us anything like from the psychology, anything that you learned from psychology that you put towards your rapping?
Definitely. I think just over the years, knowing about myself, knowing about some of my own personal beliefs, some of the things that are important to me is what I've advocated for through my music, without even knowing that that was a part of what psychology is, because I was doing a lot of my music before I even uh, went deep into the field of psychology. I think one of my last mixtapes was probably a little bit after I got my master's degree, uh, and at that point, I didn't know as much as I know now about the field. But just a lot about beliefs, a lot about different concepts like love, concepts like loyalty. concepts like family, um, and all of that, death, are a part of psychology, and these are concepts that I've written about.
Mm.
And another thing is, like, a big part of my mission in the field of in psychology as a clinical psychologist is to work with people to increase motivation. I wrote my dissertation on this topic, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and that's one of the big things that I kind of talk about in my music, even now, is motivation, inspiration, and how to increase that in different ways. And so, yeah.
Okay. So, how do you think your background as a rapper has influenced your perspective on life and your work as a doctor?
I think my background as a rapper, and just being a black male from the hood, really helps me to be effective in my work as a doctor. An example is, before I work where I work now, I worked at CDCR, California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. So in the prison, it's a different world in there, and I've worked with individuals who are in different walks of life, um, individuals who were facing life, individuals who were about to come home, individuals who had dealt with trauma in prison, people who were, just wanted to change, didn't want to change, uh, you know, all types of people in prison. But one thing that I began to recognize throughout my work there is that, um, being one of the only young black males, being somebody who comes from a community like I come from, and talks the way I talk, walk the way I walk, it's recognized by other people who have the similar cultural intersections. And so I saw that a lot in CDCR, and I felt, that, some of those qualities about myself helped me to be effective in the job, even though it was a really scary place to work in. I think some of those just, intrinsic things about myself helped me to be effective.
Mm. Yeah, that's dope as
And
fuck.
in those specific qualities is being black, being a male, understanding the hood, understanding how things work in inner city communities, understanding gang culture, understanding hip hop culture, understanding Christianity, Islam. I think all of those concepts as a whole, in addition to many others, helped me to understand that particular population a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
that's a lot. That's for surely a
Yes,
lot.
sir.
So I seen you have a book out. What's your book about?
So we got a book. I got a book that just dropped February 20th, 2023. It's called A Legendary Run, and it is a collection of memoirs, a collection of critical experiences that I have gone through, that have become inspirations for me, to ultimately lead me down the path that I've gone down, and to become who I am today. Um, this book is available at Barnes and Nobles. You can go ahead and order it on Barnes and Nobles. Yeah, and it's the first of many books.
Okay, for sure, for sure. I'm gonna have to go get a copy of that.
Yes,
Check that
sir.
out. For sure.
And I think that,
Support.
just, anybody from inner city community, even people from outside of the hood, especially if you're looking for a little piece of inspiration, a little piece of motivation, this is the book for you to add to your collection. Um, Especially young black men, I can't stress it enough. We've often been raised to go ball or go rap, uh, to the best of our abilities, and those are two primary pathways to being successful. Um, I've gone down those roads. I have been introduced to some of those same ideas, um, and through continually grinding and continually, like, learning and educating myself, and being open to new experiences, being open to conversations from people who don't look like me, or come from a place like where I come from, help me to understand that there's other things out there. And I want to kind of advocate that same thing for other people who come from a place like I come from. I remember there was a time where I didn't think that higher education or college was for Black people, and so I'm a part of that mission to change that narrative.
Right. Right. We appreciate you, bro, for sure.
Let's get
Legendary
it.
run.
Big salute.
A legendary run out in all Barnes and Nobles.
Yep, all Barnes and Nobles.
All
You can just go
Barnes
on
and Nobles.
barnesandnobles.com, type in a legendary run, go ahead and add that to your cart.
Okay, for sure. So, like, how do you balance out your work as a doctor with any ongoing interest or pursuits in music?
My work as a doctor has become very intense, but it's also very rewarding, and a job that I've been able to find balance in. Kind of set my own schedule, especially my private practice, and things that I do privately. But when I, do my other work for the state, it requires a certain amount of time that I have to be there, and it can feel kind of overwhelming sometimes, because there's a lot of reports that need to be written, assessments that need to be administered and interpreted, and all that kind of stuff. And so it can be a lot doing all of these different things. But how do I find balance? Is I just make sure that I prioritize what's important to me, which is my family, my spirituality, pursuing my passions, things like that. So just making a list in order of importance and making sure that I'm divvying my time up and balancing it in a way that I'm able to sort of pursue all of these things equally, to try and heighten my chances to be successful, you know what I'm saying, in those different areas. But sometimes I do feel like it ain't enough time in the day to do certain things, but I try and just figure out what's most important to me in this moment, and go for those things. Prioritizing a little bit.
Ain't enough time in the day to be Dre.
You do know that.
So, like, how do your colleagues or your patients react when they learn you used to be a rapper?
It's crazy because I am typically a very private person, and I know that a lot of people that I work with may not be ready for my rap life that I've lived, right? And a lot of them, they probably would never imagine that I've gone through some of these things, or I've made some of this music and talked about some of these things. So I'm not gonna say that I've hidden it, but I've kept it to myself right up until this point that I've released this book. So the book is on Barnes and Nobles, and a lot of my colleagues are readers. So I've opened myself up to be vulnerable to some of the things that I've kind of protected from my professional colleagues and professional life, and now they're about to learn about it. A lot of them have already sort of read the abstract and began to and kind of looked at the cover and read some of the text that's out there already before the book was actually out, and could see that I've have a history with hip hop, right? And I've gotten some interest in it, like some people inquiring on how far I've gone in hip hop and things like that. I think I'm gonna wait till they read the book, and then they'll be able to like, wait, wow, they'll be able to go to YouTube and kind of see for themselves. But I got a lot of video. I mean, I got a song called Phone Sex that's probably garnished the most YouTube views that I've ever had, right?
Roll smooth with a bang.
Late night, she be calling my phone. Says she home and she all alone. Feeling freaky and she wanna get it on. I'm like, girl, we can do it through the phone. We can have phone sex. Phone sex. Yeah, we can have phone sex. Phone sex. Phone sex. All you gotta do is dial my number. Yeah.
Fresh off that airplane, just touched in. Away message on the aim, say he out of 10. Hopped in that whip now, floating down the street. When you feeling freaky, mama hit me on the head. I'm thinking about that fly little body on mommy, gotta have it. I'm feeling like an addict, I'ma grab it when I see it. She called me up and told me that she need it. I'ma feed it, I'ma beat it, I'ma eat it, I'ma keep it high. Even when I'm not there, feel like I am. She asked if I'ma hold it down, said yes, ma'am. Late nights we talk dirty while I put it on her. Now I can't wait to get back to
Late
California.
nights, she be calling my phone. Said she home.
So when they see that video, they'd be like, "Man, Dr. Harris, that's a different side of you," you know. But this is me back in the, 5-10 years ago, before I even decided to come this direction in life. So I'm excited to see what people's reactions is gonna be. But it's been all positive so far, though. Again, I'm sensitive about my stuff. I'm an artist, you know what I'm saying? So, I would hope that they, read the book, and being considerate of that people change, and people adapt,
Definitely. So, like, what advice would you give to aspiring rappers who are like also interested in being a doctor?
For sure. I would tell them that you can do it too. You can continue to be a rapper. You can also continue to pursue your dreams as being a doctor. It's going to take some prioritizing. It's going to take some planning, some strategizing, some organizing, and good decision making. I say that because a lot of things that you do put out there, like on YouTube and SoundCloud and just anywhere on the internet, is available for the world to see. So, when you do become a doctor, you will have patients who will probably try and Google you or look you up, or there's a level of self-disclosure in a clinical setting too. So they'll start to learn a little bit about you as they're talking to you and working with you. It's up to you to, know how much you want to let out there about yourself, how much you're comfortable with letting out there. And I just say all of that to say that you don't want to put something out there today that can come back and bite you a little bit, down the line. So be cautious and careful about certain things that you do publish, while also being artistic and being free with your creative side. It's a fine balance, So find that balance. But at the same time, find a lot of time to lock down on your schoolwork. Make sure that you understanding the material. Make sure that you reaching out for support if you do need support in that area. There's things available to us nowadays called educational coaching. When I was coming up, I didn't really hear about educational coaching. We heard a lot about things like tutoring and stuff like that. What I've done is I've developed a private practice in Fairfield, California. It's called lovecloudrestore.com. Well, that's the website. Love Cloud Restore LLC is the practice. And we're ultimately a wellness company. One service that we provide is educational coaching. What educational coaching is actual, like a coach that you can work with on specific topics to help you identify specific educational related goals, and develop particular objectives and ways to meet those goals that are realistic and obtainable. So I didn't have things like this when I was in college and in high school, trying to pursue my educational goals. There was just a lot of just kind of working independently, working with your parents, doing a little bit of internet search when you could, but it wasn't that many computers out back then. But educational coaching is something available to you. So I would tell a young aspiring rapper and aspiring doctor that you can do both, right? You be different, right? I think that can help work with certain patients. Diversity is heavily embraced in this field. Diversity is difference, right? We all come from different backgrounds, right? So being different is something that will benefit you working in this field. So yeah, that's a little bit of piece of game that I give to a young aspiring doctor and aspiring rapper. Keep going. Don't feel like you can't do either or.
That's game.
Let's get
That's
it.
game. I like that. I like that program you got, bro. Like, that's some real shit. A lot of people need that. You feel
Yes,
me?
sir. For
Man.
real, the educational. I mean, tutoring is similar,
Yeah.
but the coaching is, can be more personal
It's
and more
actually upfront,
specific.
yeah.
Yep.
So, like, how'd your family or friends react when you decided to leave music to become a doctor?
It was crazy. Like a lot of my family was open to it and supportive of it, and was like, "You should have been did this." A lot of my friends, who, especially the ones I did music with, was like kind of wild and struck by the news, but also expected nothing less because they've already seen me, pursue certain educational goals and achieve them prior to me deciding to become a doctor. So, but even more than their reaction, more than my friends' reaction, more than my parents' reaction, my reaction to having to come to grips and come to the reality that my lifelong dream has to either take a back seat or vanish, was a part of me coming to a man, I'd say. It almost made me like really feel like crying, like, because I've always wanted to be a rapper. My One of my ultimate goals in life was always to be a rapper. I literally, back in the days when I was a little bit more immature but still pursuing my music heavily, took rent money to finance like my mixtape and going on tour, this and that, because I just was so confident that my music was going to be a hit. Um, a lot of some of those decisions were not the right decisions, but um, I was able to learn from some of those things. Yeah, I don't even know if I answered the question correctly, but that's where I'm coming. That's how I'm coming. That's how I'm coming. Yeah.
Yeah. So how you stay up to date with all the latest advancements and like trends in both the industry and medical?
Oh yeah. So in the music industry, I just turn on IG, talk to my little cousins, you know what I'm saying? It's part of the culture that we walk and talk every day. How I stay up on new trends within the field of mental health is, it's actually a requirement of doctors to pursue continuing education. There's continuing education requirements in the field to where you basically just continuing to learn about the new advancements in the field, about new medicines, about new treatment interventions, things like that. And so even while working for the state, there's annual trainings, quarterly trainings, and weekly trainings. Really, we're learning on the job, and there's always something new coming out and cutting edge that's benefiting patient outcomes. And so we're always learning every single day. That's kind of built into the job. And in a private practice, you have to build it in. You have to make sure that yourself and your staff are going out there and learning about what's new in the field, what's effective in the field, so that you're providing top-notch treatment.
Okay. Okay. So, can you share any challenges or obstacles that you had to face during your transition rapping to medicine?
Most definitely. I remember kind of going into my residency, talking specific ways with my hands a lot. I still do it, and just a lot of slang that I would use, and just the language that's expected from a doctor is it's a learning process, or it's a little learning curve that you kind of go through when you're um, going through your educational process and going through your internship process, and then going when you finally get the job, and then when you work in the job for a couple of years, you're always kind of learning on how to perfect yourself, in your position. So it was just, so some of the transition and some of the barriers that I've came across was just kind of knowing how to balance my regular urban swag with the expectations of being a clinical psychologist. You know what I'm saying? About It had a lot to do with me just tuning one, just fine tuning them and finding balance in between them. You Like I said, diversity is heavily embraced in the field, right? Certain people who are cutting their ways and uh they may act a little stuck up and resistant or hesitant to embrace diversity, but diversity is something that we encourage and advocate for in the field. And when they got a new young fly brother coming up on here, man, looking as good as I look, you know what I'm saying, and talking how I talk, you can't knock it. So Yeah, I just bring what I bring, man. I just kind of be myself. Uh, and that was how I learned to overcome that barrier of finding that balance between who I really was and what they want me to be.
That's dope. So do you still make music in your spare time?
Yes, yes, I do, sir.
Okay, okay. What's your you got like an album coming out?
So not necessarily an album, but with this book, A Legendary Run, it does come with somewhat of a musical soundtrack. So one particular song that is going to be the theme song, or is the theme song for the book, is called A Legendary Run, aka Get It How You Live It. And this is a record that's produced by the homeboy Nick Speed. Nick Speed is from Detroit, Michigan. Big shout out to the homeboy Nick Speed, man. He always held me down, man, since the day that I met him several years back. Y'all go look him up on YouTube. His beats are crazy. He's made a lot of beats for all types of people we ain't even gonna name drop right now, but we are gonna name drop one. He's made beats for T-Mazz. You hear me? And he's going crazy. So with this record, man, it's gonna be basically the theme song for the book. We're gonna eventually shoot a video for it, you know what I mean, and just go all the way up. We're gonna throw the song on iTunes, and we're just trying to hit them with from every angle that we can to get the message of this book out there to the masses.
Okay.
So really, when I do music, I just kind of, these days when I'm doing music, I do it intentionally for specific purposes. For example, the song that I just told you about is specifically to promote this book. I haven't done a lot of music lately. I do intend on getting back into it sometime soon, but for right now, I'm just getting my feet wet a little bit again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, like, have you used music to help cope with stress or like a burnout in your medical career?
Oh, most definitely, man. Every day that I leave work, I turn my music up as loud as it goes. You know what I'm saying? On my drive back home, it's something that helps me cope with stress. It's something that helped me just kind of recalibrate and come back to somewhat of a homeostasis. My baseline. So it's easy, very easy in these times that we living in to get incredibly stimulated from the sounds we hear out here to the things we see, the stuff we read about, the stuff we smell. All of that can really stimulate you and impacts the brain, right? Impacts our nervous system. So it's important to bring ourselves back down to that baseline. And how we do that is we find ourselves some effective coping skills. For myself, after I leave work, it's turning the music up. And so to answer the question, for sure, I use music definitely to cope. I use music to relax. It's not always hip hop music either, So I've recently gotten into this phase of listening to a little jazz, listening to some soft R&B, and things like that. So yeah, I try and balance it out and listen to the right music to get me in the vibe that I'm trying to get into.
Okay, okay. So, what was the question I was getting ready to ask? So, like, what was your favorite project that you did, music wise?
Man. So like a lot of the recent ones, the Trail of Tears, my One Ticket Please with DJ Coco Chanel from New York City, those are available online, and I really love those projects. But the ones that I released before online was online, like there's CDs to them, and it's hard for me to actually find those CDs. But I still have like the lyrics written down, but there's some songs that I cannot find and locate, and there was some mixtapes too. They were even unnamed too back then. Those are the ones that I miss. You know what I'm saying? But my very favorite organized and published project by T-Mazz gotta be Trail of Tears today. Let's go with Trail of Tears for sure. Big shout out to DJ Coco Chanel for the One Ticket Please host as well. Big shout out to you. You know what I'm saying? She, met me through a mutual friend, and man, it's been up from there. I just appreciate you for taking a shot on the kid way back then. You know, you way from New York, I'm way from California. We met in the middle. You hear me? Let's go.
And who got you into music?
That's crazy. My uncle three. My uncle, his name is Wallace the Third. He was a DJ, right? Probably still do DJ. Um, so he was like a record DJ with turntables and all that. He would rock parties all throughout his teenage years. And I would like see this as I was coming up. He would always just spin in the backyard and just had it jumping. So I would see him and some of his friends freestyling or whatever, and I thought that that was pretty dope. I also had a homeboy man named Omari Rico. He from Frisco, Filmo. We went to elementary school together. Man, he knew this rap, and he also knew different types of dances and stuff. And he was raw with the flips and everything. So he taught me how to dance, how to flip, how to rap, all of that. Like all within the same couple years that we went to elementary school, and so we was dancing in Carnival in the Mission District of San Francisco, and just rapping that same rap called "Don't Do It" at different talent shows and stuff like that. But from there, I developed a lot of motivation to do my own music, and I started writing, coming up with my own mixtapes and stuff like that. Right after.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's what's up. So what's something that somebody told you that you wish? What is the worst advice that somebody gave you? That's what I mean. What's
Oh
the worst
man.
advice?
Hey, I used to have homeboys who was heavily connected. And I ain't even gonna say used to have homeboys, like then they're like close fam, you know, like really close people that I know who was heavily connected in the music industry. Um, and you would expect these people who got these different connections and different lines to throw you a lob, right? And to tell you what to do to get on, you know what I mean? Or to give you an opportunity to get on, or to, you know, introduce you to the person who you need to be introduced to get to the goal that you're trying to get to. Um, and I would feel like, you know, some of the advice that these people would give me, it was kind of like, I explain it like, if I'm coming to you to get directions to go to this store that's across the street from where we're at right now, all you have to tell me is, hey, all you gotta do is go across the street. They're gonna store right there, boom. But these people would give me directions to go around the corner, make a right, go left, cross the street, stop and get a bite to eat, talk to the man out there on the corner, make a spin around in 3 circles, do a backflip, run down the street naked. You know what I'm saying? Like, not literally, but I'm just saying like metaphorically that it wasn't simplified. It seemed like it was intentionally like just leading me down some sort of maze when it could have been very much easier. And I just felt like that was some of the worst advice, because I was actually listening to these people spending money on email blast and spending money on this producer, that producer, these media outlets, those media outlets, thinking that I was gonna go somewhere, but I was really just spending a lot of my money. But at the same time, I felt like some of these things were effective, right? But it didn't get me to the goal that I wanted to get to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I just felt like I was just chasing my tail a lot of those times. So I had to find something else to do, man. No love lost to any of those people, because I think that's just how the industry goes a lot of the time.
Yeah.
People won't just tell you exactly what you need to get exactly where you need to go. Even if they knew, I don't think most people would tell you. There's gonna be a little bit of zigzag going on there.
Definitely. So what's the best advice that you got from somebody, and what's the best advice that you can give to people coming up?
Oh man, let me think about this one. I've gotten some advice throughout my times, but I think the best advice that I've gotten, because there was a time where I didn't think about going to school or anything like that. So when my mama told me to go be a doctor, I think that's the best advice, I've gotten, because it's had a lot of great impacts on my life. It's been very rewarding for me, personally, rewarding for my family, and things like that. Um, I've gotten a whole lot of other advice. One piece of advice I've gotten from my dad. My dad actually passed away a couple weeks ago. We just buried him, rest his soul. Love you, Pop.
Condolences.
One big piece of advice he gave me, and this is way back in the days when I was just a little knucklehead. He said this: "Don't, when you're doing dirt, if you're already doing dirt, right? Don't do more dirt that will attract attention to the dirt that you're already doing." Basically meaning, like, if you already uh, out of bounds, or doing something that you shouldn't have a business doing, or doing something that you could get caught up for, or doing something that you could, potentially go to jail for, or something like that, uh, don't cause bring attention to yourself that's unneeded. You know what I mean? Um, I think it was a rather shady piece of advice, but it also was effective too. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a part of just like knowledge that you should probably have when you living in certain places and doing certain things with your life. You know what I'm saying? But another piece of golden advice that I got a little bit after that was the opportunities and resources that I was raised, that was right in front of my face. If I just take advantage of those and do what is intended to do with those resources, I don't have to worry about the street life. I don't have to worry about uh, gang banging, uh, being a successful rapper or not. I'm gonna still be successful because I don't have to. My excuse me, the things that my parents have done for me while they were raising me, um, was so that they can put me in a position to not have to experience things that they've experienced. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's really the point that I'm trying to make right there. Is I don't have to force being hella hood, or force being a gangster, or, and you know what I'm saying, be hella goofy out here looking like a clown trying to be something that I'm not, because my parents have worked for a whole lot of years to put me in a position so that I've never have to live that lifestyle. Right? There's other things that I want for my life outside of what they've wanted for me and have provided for me, that I have to work for myself, but none of it involves me having to like identify something that I'm not. So that's another good piece of advice that I learned.
Yeah, that's game right there.
Yes,
So
sir.
before we wrap it up, is there anybody that you want to shout out before we end this interview?
For sure. Man, I gotta shout out my pops, man. Rest in peace, TaraMazz Harris Singer. Love your life. You were a huge influence on me, and I'm gonna make sure that the world knows your name, and your legacy. Big shout out to the homeboy Micah, man, for just, and Bolo TV, man, for just, holding us down, man, and doing this so consistent and being an outlet for independent artists, authors, or anybody that's out there trying to get their message out, man. We appreciate that. Big shout out to the homeboy. Big shout out to the homeboy Big Black, man. Shout out to Love Cloud Restore LLC out there in Fairfield, California. You make sure you tap in with us if y'all need anything mental wellness related. www.lovecloudrestore.com. Tap in with me, man. I'm on Instagram, man. The only T-Mazz. I gotta shout out my Instagram, man, and shout out to everybody who just been following me and liking my pictures, man, and everybody who copped the book and pre-ordered the book before it even dropped, man. I appreciate all of y'all, and I want to shout out all of y'all, man. Shout out to everybody who has copped the book by the time that you hear this interview. Much love to you. Shout out to whoever you share this book with too. Hopefully, you go ahead and share that thing with a young aspiring individual who trying to be a musician or a doctor or whatever. Anybody from an inner city community who looking for a little bit of motivation, let them check that thing out, man. And big shout out to you right there for just checking out this individual. I said this individual. Excuse me. Big shout out to you for checking out this interview.
Gone.
1 out.
2, 1. Okay, now 1, 2, 3. Okay, now.
Next beat, what up? Bay Area, what up? Yeah. Detroit, what up? I gotta dedicate this one right here to my father, TaraMazz singer. Rest in peace, Dad. It was a legendary run. Love your life. Last night I had a talk with God. He told me don't believe the facade. The homie told me keep my hand on the chopper. Mama told me I should become a doctor. The world got me anxious, cause I live where it's dangerous. Young kids with the stainless, shooting at their own blood type and it's painless. And got my grandmama crying about it, cause she know her little line about it. Daddy tryna pull me about it. Now that boy focus tryna move me a mouth, and a young light watching me. And them greenbacks stalking me. And the rappers don't make sense to me. The motherfucker man is who I'm fist to be. I know a chick with a good job, and 10 more who ain't never had one. 10 kids with some sad faces, and shorty still wanna add one. Hey, they favor us how they made us. I asked Mari how his day was. He said, Daddy, what's racist mean? And when these motherfuckers gon' pay us? Still my last time I hit it major, but they ain't understand like I had aphasia.